Hello everyone, this is Vikram and welcome to my channel DevOps Made Easy. So in this video we will see what is YAML configuration language and why it is so important if you are into DevOps. So almost all the DevOps tools that we come across that we use every day like Ansible, Docker Compose, Kubernetes uses YAML as the configuration language. So in this video we will see how to write efficient YAML files, how to read them using some of the programming language like Python, and we will see what are the different data types supported in YAML and many more. So without further ado, let's get started. So these are the contents that are going to be covered in this video. So we are going to start off with basic YAML syntax. Then we'll see what are the different data types supported in YAML like integers, Boolean, arrays, dictionaries, null, set, strings, etc. We'll also see how to write multi-line strings in YAML. Then we'll move on to learning about anchors and extensions in YAML and why these are used. Then we'll see what are placeholders and why these are necessary for templating YAML files in tools like Helm charts. Then we'll see some of the examples from Docker Compose and Kubernetes manifest files. Then we'll see how to read these YAML files and how to write them using Python language. And for this, we'll use PyYAML as the Python library or the module. Then we'll also see some of the basic Python scripts for YAML. So shown here are the some of the configurations file for the Docker Compose, Kubernetes manifest, and the Ansible playbooks. If you see, we write the complete Docker Compose file in YAML, starting with the version, which is nothing but the key, and the value indicates the actual version. Then the whole YAML file is a set of key value pairs. So the left ones are the keys and the right ones are the values. So in this lecture, we'll see what are the different values supported, the scalars, the dictionaries, the strings, the list, etc. So the Docker Compose shown here is for Gitya, which is a Git server. We could see the version, the total services. There are two services. One is the server and one is the database required for Gitya, and then the networks and the volume sections. So if you are familiar with the Docker Compose, this should make some sense. Then moving on to the Kubernetes, we mentioned every manifest file in Kubernetes manifest file in YAML. So the shown here is the YAML file for the config map, and here this is the actual the data that we are providing as a config map, and this symbol over here represents a multi-line string. So we are going to learn everything in the coming lectures, I mean in the coming slides. And the last one is Ansible playbook. Almost all Ansible playbook starts with a list. So we'll see how to write list and how hyphen is used for indicating a list element in the coming slides. So what is YAML? So YAML stands for YAML Ain't Markup Language. So it is a data serialization language just like JSON and XML, but this is not a substitute. Although in most of the DevOps tools we use YAML as a serialization language and sometimes JSON. So it is very hard. I mean, it is very rare finding XML as a configuration language in the latest DevOps tools. So YAML is simple. It is text-based, human-readable language that is used to exchange data between people and the computers. So it is basically it is a configuration language that we provided to some of the DevOps tools, and it works perfectly with all the programming languages like Python, Go, JavaScript, Java, etc. Okay, so every programming language that we come across understands, that means it reads and writes YAML files. So the main advantage of using YAML files is its readability and writability. So using YAMLs, it is very easy to read the configuration and it is very easy to write the configuration as well when compared to JSON and XML, which are a bit difficult. And YAML is not a programming language like Go, Python, etc. It is not a programming language. It is a simple configuration language. So it is mostly used for providing configuration files for all the DevOps tools, and it is very easier for humans to read and for the programs to process because almost all the programming languages that we come across has libraries for YAML. So it is very easy for all the programming languages to read and write YAML files and also to serialize or parse the YAML files. Another benefit of using YAML is its support for various data types. So in the coming sections, we'll see what are the data types supported by YAML, like lists, arrays, dictionaries, integers, strings, etc. And the file type, the file extension for YAML is either .yaml or .yml. It is entirely our choice. So what is data serialization? So we have been saying that YAML is for a data serialization. So data serialization is nothing but a process of converting a data to a format that could be easily stored or sent over the network. So this is called data serialization. It is kind of converting one form of the data to the another form so that it can be easily stored or sent over the network. So the process is known as serialization, and the reverse process, that is the stored format, I mean reading the stored format, is nothing but deserialization. So for example, you could use Python to serialize the data and sent over the network, and the other side, a JavaScript program can read that serialized data and can deserialize it. So the whole process, it's the reverse of the first process. That means the initially the serialization process takes place, and the other end deserialization process takes place. So once you serialize them, either you can store them or you can share them over network so that the other side can read it. Let's say that on the input side we are using Python to serialize the data. On the other side, we can either use Python, Go, JavaScript to deserialize the data and read the actual YAML data. Okay, so this whole process, the first process is known as serialization. The next process is known as deserialization. Coming to the YAML structure, everything in YAML is a key value pair. So if you see the YAML example over here, this complete file is a YAML document. So, and every line indicates a key value pair. So the name here indicates a key followed by colon, and then we have to give a small space over here, and the next thing is a value. So we will see what are the various values supported, like the integers, list, dictionaries, etc. Okay, so we have to remember here is that everything in YAML is a key value pair. Okay, and these key value pairs basically are the building blocks of whole YAML, and every item is a member of at least one dictionary. So I mean to say, let's say here if you take strawberry, it is a value. So this value is a part of at least one dictionary. So strawberry is a part of this dictionary. So we'll see what is a dictionary. It is again a set of key value pairs. So if food is a key, the corresponding values are these. So it is a list. So the reason why I mentioned this as a list, because each element is having a hyphen. Okay, so you'll understand it in the coming slides. So, but understand here is that every item is a part of at least one dictionary. And YAML doesn't support use of tab characters here. So for mentioning the values for the foods key, okay, I have given some spaces, but here instead of spaces you cannot use tabs because tabs have no meaning in YAML. So YAML doesn't support use of tab characters. Instead, you have to use spaces. So these spaces have to be equal throughout the YAML file. Let's say if you're using one space, it is completely fine. And then you have to stick to using only one space for mentioning this whole list. So let's say that you are using two spaces for mentioning the apple value and one space for orange. It doesn't work like that. Okay. And then the keys are always strings. So here the keys are always strings indicates. So the yellow ones marked here are the keys. So the keys are always strings, and values can be anything, like the values can be a boolean, it can be a string, it can be a list, or it can be a whole multi-line string. It can be anything. So we'll see them one by one with the examples. So this is the YAML structure again. So the file starts with three dashes. Okay, so this is optional. It doesn't have to start with three dashes, but this is the convention. Okay, every YAML document starts with three dashes. Okay, and the white spaces is a part of YAML formatting. Okay, so here I have used two white spaces. Okay, so this is a part of YAML formatting, and new lines indicates the end of a field. So that means that here is working is a key and the true is a value. So the next line indicates the end of this field over here. So new lines mark the end of the previous field, and the white spaces are a part of YAML formatting. And indentation level can be one or more spaces and is used for nesting of key value pairs. So indentation level can be one or more spaces that we talked about. Let's say work experience, here it is a key. Okay, and what is the value? So everything that is indented till this part, then this whole part is indented. So this complete indented part becomes value for this key. Okay, so this complete part here again it is a dictionary because it has key value pairs. Okay, so company one is a key and these are values. Company two is a key and these are values. So for work experience, this complete part becomes a value, and inside this value, again we have key value pairs. So that indicates a nesting of key value pairs. Coming to the JSON structure, let's say if you have to compare between YAML and JSON, it is very easy. So YAML uses new lines and indentations, okay, for writing the YAML document, but JSON uses the brackets and braces. Okay, so let's compare both. Okay, so let's say that three lines over here indicates the start of the document. Here the braces, okay, indicate start and end of the JSON document. So this is the YAML file and this is the JSON file. Okay, so this braces over here mark the complete JSON file, and here name is the key, Martin is the value. So here the same can be mentioned here. Okay, so the name, it is a string, so it has to be mentioned in double quotes. So one thing you have to remember in JSON is you should not mention anything in the single quotes. Everything has to be in the double quotes. That means the keys as well as the strings. Okay, here name is a key. So it has to be put in the double quotes followed by the colon, and then the actual value again it is a string. So here name is the key and Martin is the value, so the name is the key over here and Martin is the value. So here there is no need of using commas to mark the end of that field. So the new line indicates the start of the new field. But here comma indicates the start of the new field. Okay. So here job developer, the same thing we mentioned, skills, elite, employed, true. Foods over here. Okay. So this is a key. So again foods, it is being mentioned as the key over here. But for mentioning the list, because these hyphen indicates the list. So for foods as the key, apple, orange, strawberry, mango becomes a list of values. Okay. So here the list should be indicated with square brackets. Okay. So here we are using hyphens to indicate the list elements. The same thing have to use with the square brackets. So inside the square brackets, you can have individual elements followed by the comma to indicate the end of that field. Okay, so the last element of that list should not have the comma. Okay, and the languages here it's the key, and again this complete parts become its value. So the languages became the key here, and then if you see clearly over here, this complete part which we are saying as the value to this languages key, so again, it is a dictionary because it has again a key and a value, key and a value, key and a value. So we know that the key value pairs are nothing but the dictionary. Okay, these dictionaries should be mentioned in between the braces. That's why we have uh, this complete value indicated as the dictionary over here. Okay, so dictionary key value, comma, key value. So the last element should not have comma. And again, the last element, the education is the key and the value is a multi-line string. So how did I know that it is a multi-line string? Using the pipe symbol. So the pipe symbol indicates the multi-line string. Again, we are going to learn it in the coming sections. So here, if you see, education as the key and the value is a complete string object. So this is the difference between JSON and YAML. The same thing can be mentioned in the XML, but here in the XML we use so-called tags. Okay, so the start and end of the document is shown with the data tag. Okay, and the root indicates the document root, starting tag and the ending tag, and then the same thing. Okay, so the name Martin is indicated with the name tag and the closing of the name tag. And again, foods here, it is a key and the value is a list. So similar thing, foods. Okay, so all the elements of foods. Okay, again, language here, it is indicates a key and the value is a dictionary. Again, languages are mentioned under the list or the dictionary over here. So it should be mentioned like this. And again, education is a string. So the education, sorry, this is an extra part over here. So this is the education tag, and inside it, it is a string. So this is how you convert YAML to XML. So you don't have to convert it manually. So we have multiple online tools for converting this. So I have here the complete list of resources given in the form of YAML files and JSON files. I have the Python examples for passing the JSON and the YAML files, and also all the data types that we are going to see in this YAML tutorial is also given as a single file, including the basic data types. And I also have example Helm chart and an example Docker Compose file and multi-container pod manifest file for the Kubernetes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a simple YAML file uh, from this all data types file, and I'm going to show you how do we convert them into an JSON file or an XML file online. So I can just take this YAML file over here, then I'll go to any of the browsers, and then I'll search for YAML to JSON online. So if you type for YAML to JSON online, there will be plenty of sites available. So I can select an YAML file, and then I can just give YAML as an input, and then I'll get the relevant JSON output after conversion. Okay, the same thing I can do instead of YAML to JSON, I can just go for YAML to XML online. So and again I'll select any random site, then I'll paste my YAML site as the input, YAML file as the input, and then I get the XML output for that YAML file. So this is how we can use online tools for converting one configuration language to the other configuration language. So coming to the other resources in this section, I have Python files for reading the JSON files and the YAML files as well. Shown here is the difference between YAML, JSON and XML structure for a simple dictionary over here. Okay, so we have user details as the key over here, and the value, it is a simple dictionary again. The same thing is mentioned in the JSON file over here. So the user details becomes the key, and this complete part becomes the dictionary for JSON. The same thing is for the XML. So the user details becomes the tag, and here inside it, it is again a dictionary. And now the important thing to understand here is the difference between JSON and a Python dictionary. Okay, so even this is an important interview question because both JSON and the Python dictionary looks almost the same in terms of the structure. So what is the difference between JSON and a Python dictionary? So JSON is nothing but a data format of type string. Okay, while Python dictionary is a data structure. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, so if you need to exchange data between two different systems of the process, or let's say if you want to exchange some data between two different microservices or something, so we could serialize a Python dictionary that becomes a JSON object. So that's why the Python dictionary, it is a data structure. Once you serialize a dictionary, it becomes a JSON object of type string. So we can prove this programmatically. For this, I have an example program written in Python. So I'll be using a dictionary as an input. Okay, so I'll be importing the JSON library, and then I have here employee1 as a dictionary, and the values are name, job, skill, and whether he is employed or not as a complete dictionary. Then what I'll do is before serializing this dictionary, I'll see the type of this employee1 object. So using a type function, and I'll pass the employee1 variable name to this type function, and that will show me the class as dictionary. Then I'll serialize it using JSON. So inside JSON, dumps is the function that converts or that takes in dictionary, and it will serialize that into a JSON object. So the what I'm doing is I'm using the JSON library, and inside that library I'm using the dumps function, and I'll pass the employee one name or this complete dictionary as an input. Then what I'll do, I'll print it and I'll also see the type of that JSON object. So the type will should be a string. Okay, so this indicates that the Python dictionaries are data structures of type dict, but the JSON object, sorry, the serialized Python dictionary is nothing but a JSON object of type string. Okay, so that is the difference. So we'll go back to the programs. Okay, so I have here a Python JSON program file. Okay, where I'm importing the JSON library, and then I have here a Python dictionary of yeah, so this is a Python dictionary, and then what I'm doing is I'm just printing the type of that dictionary, and then I'll use JSON dot dumps function to serialize this Python dictionary into a JSON object, and then I'll print the type of that JSON object. So what I'll do is I'll click on this play button over here. Okay, and then it will automatically run my Python file. So here the first print statement, which is nothing but printing the type of this employee 01, it indicates that it is a dictionary. So this is obvious because this complete thing is a Python dictionary. And then once you serialize this Python dictionary, it becomes a JSON object, and the type of that JSON object is a string. So even you can see it from the terminal output, it is a class string. Okay, so this is the difference between JSON and a Python dictionary. Yeah, then we'll see what is PyYAML module for reading the YAML files in Python. Okay, so before going to see what are the different data types and how to understand them, so we'll run or we'll practice all these data types in Python. So PyYAML is such one such module available for Python for reading the YAML files. So PyYAML is a YAML parser for Python. Okay, and using the PyYAML module, we can perform various operations like reading and writing complex YAML files, and we can also serialize the YAML files. Serializing here indicates converting YAML objects or the Python objects into YAML streams. Okay, we can also convert YAML file into a Python dictionary. So all these operations can be done using PyYAML. Okay, so installation PyYAML is available in py.org, so you can easily install it using the pip utility. Okay, so pip is a Python installer. So pip install PyYAML will will install your PyYAML module for Python. So now here using PyYAML module, we can read the YAML files using the load all function. So we have load and the load all function. So let's say you only want to read one YAML document, you would use load as the function call. But since every YAML files will have multiple YAML documents mentioned inside it, so we'll be using load all function that reads all the YAML files mentioned in the a single YAML file. So we'll see what are how can we mention multiple YAML files in a single YAML document. So in there we'll see how to use load all function to read that multiple YAML files. Okay, then this function parse and yeah, so this load all function, what it will do is it will parse and converts an YAML object into a Python dictionary. So this is again an important thing to remember. So it will parse your YAML object into a Python dictionary. Since after reading this YAML object, we get a Python dictionary, so we can use the items function call to separate key values in your YAML file, because items function can be called upon a Python dictionary. So once we have a YAML object read as Python dictionary, we can simply use the items function call to pass the key value pair. So the function, say the whole program is here. So we are using YAML, import YAML to import the YAML module. Then we with open, so this is how you open some files in Python. So with open, this is the name of the YAML file you wanted to open. Then I'll use the load all function to load this complete YAML file. And then since after loading this complete YAML file, it becomes a dictionary. So it becomes a Python dictionary. Then I can use the items function on the dictionary to separate key values from that dictionary. So what I'm doing is here I'm printing keys and values of the YAML file. Okay, so and this is about reading the YAML files, and we can also write the YAML files using the Python PyYAML module. So for converting the Python object, see the first process is converting the YAML objects into Python dictionary. The next operation, that is writing operation, is simply a reverse of the earlier operation, which is converting a Python dictionary. One second. So this is exactly the reverse operation, that is converting a Python dictionary into an YAML format. So how do we achieve that? We achieve that using the dump function. So earlier we used load function to convert YAML to dictionary. Now we use the dump function to convert dict to YAML. Okay. So this is how we convert Python objects like a dictionary and then save them as a YAML file. Okay. And also this method will serialize a Python object into an YAML string. Okay, so this is known. So what I'm doing here is, again I'll use the dump as the function to convert an object into an YAML object. Okay, so here users is nothing but it is a simple Python dictionary. So I'm taking this dictionary and I'm using the dump function to convert that Python dictionary object into an YAML stream. Okay. And again, we all know that the YAML is nothing but a data type of YAML is nothing but a of type string. Okay, so once you serialize any Python object, it becomes an YAML stream of data type str, which is nothing but a string. And then again, once you have that object converted as an YAML, again you can use the with open function call to write that complete output of the YAML dump to a file. So here I'm writing that complete file to users.yaml file. So okay, so let's do this programmatically. Okay, so I'm again going back to the VS Code here. So I'll open Python YAML.py file over here. So everything that we have seen here is mentioned as the program. Here I have to use pip install PyYAML. So install the Python YAML module. So what I can do is I can simply open the terminal, and then I can open the terminal and then I can run pip install PyYAML, since I've already installed it, so there won't be any it won't install again for me. But you can also use CMD to install it. Here what it is saying is this dependency is already satisfied because I've already installed it. So what I'll do is, now here what I'm doing is I'll take a small example. So I'll take these four. I'll make a new file here. The new file is test.yaml. Okay, then I'm just copying three key value pairs. Okay, so the as we already mentioned, the YAML document starts with three dashes. So I have three dashes over here, and then some key value pairs. So the name here is the key, and Martin here is the value. Similarly, job is the key, and developer as the value, and skill as the key, lad as the value. I'll simply save it. Then I will open the Python YAML file. Okay. So what I'll do is, first I'll test the reading part. For that, what I'm doing is I'm commenting out the writing part. So how will I comment out the complete the multi-line uh, program is using the three quotes over here. This won't comment out, but this will be taken as a string. Okay, so the Python interpreter will not do anything to the instructions inside it, because this complete part is being taken as the string. So now what I'll do is I'll simply save this file and then I'll click on execute button. Now if you see the output of the execute button, okay, I think I have to change the input file since we are using test.yaml. So I'm opening the test.yaml and then I'll use load all function to load this YAML file. Okay, and then using the items function, I'll read the Python dictionary. So then again, I'll run this, click on this run. Now, if you see here, so everything is printed in a key value fashion. So name Martin, job developer, skill elite. So if you're still not satisfied, that if you're still uh, not sure whether it is printing correctly, so what I'll do is, so I'll mention some strings over here, key equal to key, and then value equal to value. Just it is to show whether my program is parsing or it is directly printing what it is being read. Okay, in order to clear that confusion, so I have changed slightly changed the print statements, and again I'll click on execute. Now here it is saying name YAML is not defined. So where exactly name YAML is not defined? Okay, let's rerun again. Yeah, okay, probably I've clicked on a wrong button here. So now if you see key as name, value as Martin. So key as job, value as developer. So the same thing here, whatever I mentioned here, it is being read. Okay, so now this is all about reading an YAML file and then converting into Python dictionary. Now let's move back to the other part. It is the writing an YAML file. Okay, so now for writing the YAML file, I don't have to, read it. So what I'll do, I'll comment it out using three quotes. So the three quotes starting and closing over here, this complete part becomes a string. So that means that all the instructions, the Python instructions will not be executed inside. Okay, so now here I have here is a users users list. So now this becomes a list. Okay, so if I click on right click and if I click on uh, format document. Yeah, let's leave that. So this is nothing but a list. Okay, so if I have to put it on two different lines just to show you clearly what exactly it is. So it is nothing but a list because it is a list of dictionaries. So the first part is a dictionary because it has name as the key, value, name and value. So this part is a dictionary, and again this part is a dictionary. So it is enclosed, both these dictionaries are enclosed inside a list. So this becomes a list of dictionaries. So I'm just reading a list of dictionaries. Okay, and then if you see the type, okay, so this is a class of dictionary, right? It is obvious. So let's say that I take one more. So here what I'll do is instead of list of dictionaries, I'll simply take a dictionary. Okay. So user one is a dictionary, but users are a list of dictionaries. So what I'll do is I'll print both. So I'll print both of the type of users as well as type of just a user one. So this should become a dictionary of class dict. So we'll verify it in the terminal. Okay, so after verification, what I'm doing is I wanted to convert these Python dictionaries into YAML streams. So for that, I'll use YAML.dump function. Okay, so now after dumping, so what I'm doing is I'm also che checking the type of that dump. So the output that comes from YAML.dump function call. So I just wanted to check the type. So the type is, as we seen in the presentations, it is a type string. Okay, so we'll verify that as well. Then after dumping, what I'll do is, so I wanted to store them inside a file. So using with open, and the name I wanted to use is us.yaml, and then what is the data that I wanted to store is this YAML.dump of users data. I wanted to store it. Okay, so this is the example. So again, I'll click on play button over here. Now, if you see here, the first print statement of type users. So we already know users is nothing but a list of dictionaries. So it won't say that it is a list of dictionaries. It will only identify the top level data type, that is a list. So that's why the first print statement is a list, but the second users dot underscore 01, it is nothing but a dictionary. So that's why the print statement of type user one indicated it is a dictionary. And then once you dump it, once you convert this dictionary into a Python stream using a dump function, it becomes like this. Okay, so it is a list of dictionaries. So YAML, this is the indication of a YAML. Okay, so this is a Python dictionary object, but this is YAML. So you can see clearly the difference. So the dictionary is being shown in the braces, but inside the YAML it is a key value pair. So there are no commas, no quotations for keys, etc. And then if you want to see the type of that dump function output, it is a string. And then if you see, so I wanted to store this complete output in a users.yaml. And if you observe carefully over here, there is a new file created over here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just delete it and again I'll rerun the program. Then you can see that, okay, users is not defined. What happened? Okay, I have to save it. Okay, then if you see here, there is a user.yaml file automatically created, and this is the output. So why this output came is what I'm printing, sorry, I'm storing this value over here. So if I have to compare both this, so this is a Python dictionary, right? And this is the output which is stored. So if I have to convert this Python dictionary manually into an YAML object, what I can do is, so this is a list. So what I can do is I can simply mention list elements like this. Okay, I'll remove the square brackets and this indicates the list elements. Okay, so this is how I convert, but I should not put quotes and commas, right? So that's why first I'll remove the comma. Okay, then these are key value pairs, so the key value pairs are to be mentioned like this. Okay, so I'll remove the braces, so these should be mentioned on separate lines. So this becomes again a dictionary. So similarly I'll do the same for the other dictionary as well. But in YAML, we don't have to put the quotes here. So I'll remove the quotes on the keys because keys are always strings. And then here in the values of type strings also, I don't have to put quotes. Okay, so the same thing that we got here, this is the same thing that is stored. So this is how you manually convert JSON or the Python dictionary into YAML. And the same thing you can programmatically achieve that using the dump function. Okay, so this is how you use PyYAML module for converting or for reading or writing the YAML files. So now let's get back to the different data types supported in YAML. Now let's start with the comments in YAML. So comments in YAML start with an hash sign. Okay, so they can be inline or they can be put on a separate line. So they are ignored by YAML parsers. Let's say that you're using this YAML file and a Python program reads it. So the Python program, so they are nothing but these are parsers. So these parsers will simply ignore the lines starting with hash. So they'll consider them to be a comment because comments are usually given to give a documentation or the information about what that particular key value does. Okay, in the example shown here, if service is the key and the HTTPD as the value, so here I've mentioned inside the with hash, this is nothing but the name of the service. Okay, so this name of the service with hash as the beginning will becomes a comment. So these are known as inline comments because within the same line, on the same line, I have given the comment. Here, similarly, for the next key value pair also, I given the comment in the same line. And on the top here at the root level of the document, again there is a comment. So this becomes a comment on a separate line. So this becomes a comment on the separate line. Even this will be ignored by the YAML parsers. So here I can simply give the information about this complete YAML document, why I'm using it, what is its purpose, etc. Okay. Now Booleans. So Booleans, YAML also support Boolean as a data type. So we all know that Boolean data type has only two values. Either it can be 0 or 1, it can be false or true, or it can be no or yes, it can be off or on. So these are all indications of only two values. So these are nothing but the digitals, right? These are the digital signals. So digital signals will have only zeros and ones. There are only two states, right? So either it can be a no state or it can be a state or it can be high state, it can be a low state. Okay, so similarly, Boolean indicates a value that indicates it can only have two possible values. So here inside YAML, I can use either true with capital T, true with small t, on, yes, all indicates Boolean value of true. Okay, I can use true, on, yes, all indicates all will be passed as true. Okay, similarly, false, false, off, no indicates Boolean false. Okay, so I can use capital false, small fall, f false, off with capital O, small off with small o. Okay, no with capital N, no with small n, all indicates the same thing, which is false. Okay, so here the actual Boolean values for true and false are true with capital T and false with capital false, with capital F. But you don't have to use these exact values. You can use on, you can use off, yes, no, everything will be supported. So in order to show it again programmatically, what I'll do is uh, I'll read an YAML file, okay, and I'll print the key value page. Okay, so I'll remove this extra string because this is not, I don't want this, and I'm commenting out the writing part because I don't want to write anything. I just wanted to read. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'll take the simple test.yaml file again because so this is what I'm reading in the Python YAML. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take what we are doing, we are yeah. So I'll take the booleans. Okay, I'll simply paste this complete YAML document here. So having three hyphens at the beginning, I mean it is not mandatory. We can put it or we can simply ignore it. It is entirely up to us. So what I'm doing is here I'm writing a comment, top level comment. So this is example for Boolean data type. Okay, so this is a comment again. I'm writing a few more comments randomly. So this indicates active. Okay, some random comments, and the next one, this is for eligible. So I'll write comment, this indicates eligibility. Okay, so these are the comments. So once I read this YAML file using any programming languages, right, like Python, Go, so these comments are to be ignored. Okay, and also this foo variable here, which is nothing but the key, has the value true. Similarly, this bar here has false. So this device one has on, device two has off. So if you see here, these are actual booleans, but I've given other possibilities like on, off, yes, no, etc. So let's see how our actual YAML parsers, like the Python programs or Go programs, will actually parse them, how they parse them, how this on is taken, converted, or how this off is converted into actual boolean, we are going to see. So again I'll go back to this same Python YAML and then I'll click on run button here. So if you simply observe the values or the output of the Python program, you can see that I'll just open the test.yaml, okay, for easy comparison. So now foo here is true, so it is read as it is. Bar as false, it is read as it is. Now device one as on, if you see here, it is read as true because on indicates it is true. Now off indicates it is false, so it is read as false. Okay, so this is how YAML, the Boolean can have multiple forms of true values, true and false values. And also if you see here, I have comments, there are three comments in this YAML document, but none of them are read because inside my Python program, I'm just reading the key values. Okay, so key values indicate this is the key and this is the value, but none of these comments are printed by Python because these are obviously ignored. So this is how we read the booleans. So now let's go back to the other data type, which is nothing but the numbers in YAML. So YAML support integers, floats, and exponential numbers as the numbers. Okay, so we can have integers, floats, or exponentials as the numbers. It also supports the numeric systems like decimal or octal or hexadecimal systems. Okay, and the we can also give infinity numbers and Norton numbers. All are supported in YAML. So that means that when we talk about integers, we can put as 10, 11, 9 something. Floats indicates 9.9, 993.14 pi, for pi values. And exponential values, we can put 1.414 e plus 10. That means that 1.414 into 10 and whatever value that goes as the power. That means that, okay, let me change the color. So let's say that I have 4 on 4 e. Okay, e plus 3. That means that 1.414 into 10 power 3. Okay, so this is about exponential part. So I can have something known as decimal numbers. Okay, so start from 0 to 9, 10, 11, 12, these things. And the octal values. So I can have the octal values. So the octals have to be indicated starting with 0. That means that if I have to indicate 12 or if I have to indicate 7, it should be 0, 7. So we have the number systems like octal systems, hexadecimal systems, binary systems, decimal systems. So these are can also be mentioned in the YAML. And for the hexadecimal systems, we should have it is 0x. So 0x as the starting value indicates that it is an hexadecimal system. And we can also have infinity in the form of INF for positive infinity, minus INF for negative infinity. And for not a number, we can have NaN value. So even for this, what we'll do, we'll simply go back to our Python file, and then I'll delete off the complete first example. Then what I'll do, I'll take the basic data types file. Okay, so this basic data types file I have. Okay, so here, so let's forget about the strings for a while. Okay, so don't consider about the strings. So let's concentrate on the numbers part. So I have integer 99, float 99.887, exponential I have. So again, I mentioned integer octal. So here octal. How did I know this is an octal? See here, guys, this octal doesn't indicate it's an octal number. So it is a simple naming convention I used. I could use X also, but since this value has 0 on the starting, that means that this is an octal. So just for naming convention, I'm using octal, integer, hexa, but these are nothing but the keys. These keys can take any string values. Now hexadecimal, it should have 0x at the beginning and 1 to 3 as the value. But what is the actual value of 1 to 3? We are going to see how the YAML parsers read that value. And the not a number, it is simply used with NaN or .nan. Okay, so yeah, it should be with the .nan. Infinity, it is .inf. Okay, negative infinity, it is minus .inf. Okay, and there are some couple of strings which we are going to see later. So what I'll do is I'll take this complete path and then I'll copy into test.yaml file. Okay, because here I'm in the Python YAML, I'm just reading the test.yaml file. If you don't want to do this, so directly you can read this basic data types file by simply changing the name here, basic underscore data types.yaml file. Then I'll click on this execute symbol. So now this execute symbol should give me the values. So now if you see the basic data type, so integer, yeah. So what is the first one here? Okay. So what happens here is if there are any keys that are repeated, right? See here, this is an integer key which is already repeated at the beginning. Okay. So it will take the latest value. So that's why integer 99 is not printed in the terminal. So in order to avoid this, what I'll do is I'll separate different YAML files using three hyphens. So this is an YAML, it is a separate YAML document. So this is a separate YAML document. So this we have not come across till now. This is the last part in this tutorial. But for time being, just understand that whenever you have three hyphens in between the YAML file, so this part becomes one YAML document and this part will become another YAML document. So the parsers will take that these are two separate YAML files, but both of them are mentioned in a single document. So now if I go back to my Python YAML file and if I just execute it, so this time YAML parser should read both the files. So now this 99 is coming over here. Okay, so this is a separate part. So this 99 here it is printed as 99, and the float value here it is also printed same way. But here the exponential value, as we already said, it is nothing but 1.414 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3. So that's why this whole part, okay, it is 10 power 3. So this whole part is given here. Okay, this whole part is given as 1414. Okay, so this is 1414 dot, because this complete part is evaluated. And then coming to the other thing, integer 123 is mentioned, and here octal 0123 indicates it is nothing but 83 value. Okay, so if you are not sure, you can uh, just open the calculator. I think you should go to the scientific calculator of Windows. Okay, then not scientific, yeah, programmer's calculator. Then what you do is, so for octal 0123, and if you see the octal part, okay, one second guys, so 0123, I think I have to click on this octal here, then I have to give 0123, then here, so you can see the decimal value is 83, that is what it is shown. And the hexadecimal of 0 into 1 to 3. So what I can do is I can select the hexadecimal value input here, hexadecimal input, then I'll use 1 2 3. The decimal value it is showing as 291 here, so the 299 one is being converted and shown here, and simply not a number, it is dot nan. So but the Python program will read it as nan, so inside the Python it is nan, not capital Nan. And whether it is an infinity positive or if you put the dot inf, it will be read as inf only. Okay, so this is how the Python programs will read. Okay, so whatever you the put here, but those will be analyzed and they will be converted accordingly. So the hexadecimal of 123 is converted as a decimal 291 in the Python program. The next data type is of string. So strings in YAML can be represented without quotes. It is entirely up to us. So even we had seen that. So if the name has the key, so what we are doing is we are putting the value as simple, the value without any quotes. So either you can put double quotes or you can ignore them. So YAML will take them as strings. Okay. But escape characters are evaluated only when strings are enclosed in double quotes. Let's say that I wanted to have Vikram, and in the next line I wanted to print my first name. Okay, some first name. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll use slash n for the new line character, and then I'll use k as my initial. Okay, so if I write like this without any quotes, so this won't be evaluated. That means that it will be printed as Vikram slash n k, because these new line characters or the escape sequences will not be evaluated when double quotes are not there. If you put double quotes, okay, so this slash n will be evaluated as new line character, then the output will become Vikram, in the next line it will become k. Without double quotes, slash n will be treated as a individual characters, like slash will be treated as a character and will be treated as character. They are not treated as escape sequences. So in order to best prove this, so I have an example ready. So here what I have given here is, so in the string one, it is hello there, this is Vikram and IT is DevOps. So this is without any quotes. So this will be printed on a single line. If I run this Python YAML file, if I just import this Python file and if I just read the key value paste, it will be printed in a single line. But now I wanted to have this I teach DevOps on a different line. So how do I do that? So how do I do that? It is after this end, I'll put slash n. So that means that this indicates a new line character. Okay, but see here, this complete thing is not enclosed in double quotes. So, and the next line, it is similar to the above line, but it is double quoted. So now once you double quote, you can also see the change in color of slash n. Okay, so now this complete part, the second part, even if it is having slash n, it won't be taken as a new line character because it is not enclosed in double quotes. Now if you run the import the same file, and if you just click on run, and if you try to see the output, okay, one second guys, if basic data types is not defined, how I, so we have this file, yeah, okay, I didn't save it guys. So see here in the second line, hello there, this is Vikram, and so see here slash n is being taken as individual character, slash is taken as a character, and n is taken as a character. Okay, so this is not evaluated as a new line escape sequence. Okay, but in the next in the string 3, so I've enclosed this complete statement in double quotes. Now here, hello there, this is Vikram, and this one is evaluated as a new line character, and then the next one is printed in the new line. So this is how you escape. If you want to the YAML to consider the escape sequences, you simply put the or enclose the complete part in the double quotes. Okay, now this is fine. Okay, let's say since this is occupying a little bit of space, this is completely fine. Let's say that I have you know, a line, so that is very big. Okay, let's say I have a line which is having almost 200 plus characters, and simply I cannot put it on a single line. Okay, so I cannot put it on a single line. Okay, but I wanted to mention it in the YAML file. Okay, so how do I do that? Okay, so how do I do that? It is using multi-line strings. Okay, now going to the other part, so we have multi-line strings. Okay, so YAML supports multi-line strings. Okay, as a value using the following characters. You can use the fold as the character using greater than symbol, or you can use block character, which is nothing but a pipe. So there is a difference between both these. Okay, so this is the key, right? So here I can have this as the key colon. Okay, and the whole value I can put it here. Since this is a very huge line, so I decided to break it and put it into three different lines. So how do YAML know that this is a multi-line string? So it is using either this character or this character. This is a fold character, this is a block character. Once if you're doing this as the block, this fold character, so this one will be evaluated as a single line. That means that this is Vikram, and after that and I work as DevOps engineer, so everything will be printed on a single line. But if you are using this pipe character, so these new lines will be preserved. That means that this complete thing will be printed as it is. That means that after Vikram, so this part will be printed on a next line, this will be printed on a next line. Okay, but here everything will be printed on a single line. Okay, so even once you render this YAML file using Python, you can see that the output. Okay, the first part output is this is Vikram and I work as DevOps engineer. And in the next part here, you can see that the new lines are preserved. But one of the disadvantages of using these multi-line characters or the characters are they'll put a empty line or the white spaces after each output. Okay, there is a way for deleting these white spaces. It is simply putting hyphen, okay, after that character. So you should not put fold or the block character and some space and hyphen. No, so they have to be side by side. Okay, they have to be like this. Okay, so once you do this, okay, so after printing this key value pair, okay, so there won't be any white spaces or new lines. Okay, they will be printed without any. If you go back to the other the previous one, you can see that there is a new line printed. Okay, so we'll just see a brief demo of this and why this is needed in the real life. Okay, how we are going to see this in the real life. So for this, what I'm doing is I am just deleting the test.yaml contents. Then I'll go to all data type section. Then I have a perfect example for this. Okay, so I'll take these two. Okay, so having okay, three hyphens, it is up to you. Okay, I have this YAML file. So I have one key. Okay, so this key, it is entirely up to you guys. It is name one anything. But for easy of understanding, I have given this a string with fold and string with pipe. So this fold indicates this fold character, this pipe indicates this pipe character. The first time what I'll do, I'll just remove these hyphens. Okay, and then let's see the output. Okay, in Python YAML, so I'll read the test.yml file. Okay, so I'm just saving this file and then I'll run this. Okay, so now once I run it, I'll get the output. Now if I just go back to the test.yaml for comparison, the first thing is with fold. Okay, so this is the multi-line string, right? So if I don't want multi-line string, how do I first write this, guys? So let's do this first. String, just string. Okay, I just want to give string, and then I'll put it in a single line. Okay, so for single line, I'll just put this. You guys know it already. Okay, since I don't want to put this on a single line. Okay, because for here this is easy. Okay, this is only occupying a bit of space, but if this line spans across, for multiple characters, then this becomes an issue. So then that's the reason why I'm putting it on multi-line. So if you see the output of the first one with fold, so these new lines are there right here. These are not preserved. So that means that the string with fold is printed on a single line. Okay. And also you should know here that there is a white space created. So this is the white space. Okay, but there is no white space here. After the string dot fold, immediately there is one more key value pair, but there is no white space. Okay, and after this string with pipe here, so this multi-line string has new lines here, right? So these new lines are also preserved, okay, using pipe. So, and also if you see here, after this also there is a white space. Now let's do the same thing here by putting the hyphen. Okay, I'll save this file and again I'll run this Python YAML file. Okay, now if you see here, string with fold, it has printed. Again, there is no white spaces or new lines. And after that also, okay, there is no white lines. Okay, so that is how you can completely eliminate the white spaces or the new lines, okay, using hyphen. Okay, so that is about the multi-line strings. Okay, so we'll go back to one of the examples where exactly we use these multi-lines. So I have here a config map. Okay, so this config map is from Kubernetes manifest. Okay, so this is one of the object in Kubernetes, similar to pods, daemons, agents, or services, deployments. So config map is one such object in Kubernetes. Here, I wanted to have a configuration file called my.cnf. Okay, and that my.cnf will have a configuration. Okay, if I have to paste this configuration like this. Okay, okay. So this is the configuration that I need to give it as a file to a pod. Okay, let's say instead of pod to a container. So how do I give that using? Okay, so this is a complete file, right? It has different values on different lines. Okay, so how do I do this? So this is a multi-line string. Let's say this is a multi-line string. So that's why what I'm doing is I'm giving it using a pipe character, and this complete thing is rendered as it is. If I have to give this as block character, okay, sorry, the fold character, it will be printed on a single line, that is MySQL. After this, on the same line, PID file will come, but this is not the requirement. Okay, so this is the requirement. So this is the config file from the Kubernetes. So here I have a use case of having multi-line strings. Okay, now coming going to the next thing, so it is dictionaries. So we already seen what are dictionaries. So dictionaries are nothing but the key value base. So we have the key and we have the value. So the value can be a integer, it can be a string, or it can be a multi-line string, it can be a list, or the value can itself be another dictionary. Okay, so if I have to go back to this test.yaml file. So let's say the name as the key, and I can have Vikram as the value. So this is a key value pair, and then I can just give the age. Okay, so this complete thing is a dictionary. It is called as a map. Okay, this can also be called as a map. Now here I have a string as a value. Here I have the integer as a value. Now I can have the address as the key, but the value, instead of putting on a single line here the complete address, what I can do is I can have again, okay, door 26, okay, area something, okay, next state, I can have any other thing, I can have country. So I can give it like this, right? Instead of putting everything on a single line, so I can have address as the key, and the value itself is again a dictionary. This complete part is a dictionary. Again, if you take this as a dictionary, again this is a key, this is a value, this is a key, this is a value, this is a key, this is a value. Okay, now here, next skills. If I have to take skills as the key, I can have values, a list of values. Okay, instead of skills, what I'll do, I'll just do certifications. Okay, so certifications, I can have multiple certifications, right? So multiple certifications, I can just give it as a list, like CKA, this is a list. Okay, CCAD, this is a one more element of that list. Then I can have DCA, Docker Certified Professional Associate, I think. So DCA, it is a list. So I can have these list elements without any white spaces. This is also fine. I can also put two white spaces to indicate a block. This is also fine. Okay, but if I have to do it with keyboard shortcuts, so I have to select this. Inside the VS Code, I can just simply press Control Shift and the right, sorry, it is Control. One second, guys. I think it is Control Shift and or okay, it is not working. Okay, forget about it. Okay, so this is how you give it as a list. Okay, or else what I can do is I can give again a dictionary. Okay, cert. Okay, or else I can just give it as a key value. Cert 01 CK, cert 02. Again, it is a key value list of key value pairs. Okay, cert 03. Okay, so this is complete thing itself is a dictionary. So the name, key, value is the Vikram. Next address is the key. This complete thing is a value. This complete value itself is a dictionary. Then certifications are the key. These are the list of dictionaries. So if I have to, read it in YAML, okay, then if I have to compare it with the actual input, okay, you can see here the name as this is as this address. So address over here, it is a dictionary, right? This is a dictionary. So that's why we have curly braces here. So door, area, state, these are key value pairs inside a dictionary. Now coming to the certifications, it is a list of dictionaries. Okay, so that's why a list, that's why square brackets, again inside it is a dictionary. So here there are individual dictionaries. So this is a dictionary, this is a dictionary, this is a dictionary, and it is inside a list. So list of dictionaries. So if I remove these key value pairs and if I simply put a list, okay, then if I try to run the same Python YAML file, so the output will be different now. So again, it is a simple list of values, list of strings. Okay, so again, this is a dictionary, and these are the possible values for that dictionary. Okay, even if you want to practice it, so inside the all data types, so there are numerous examples, okay, for each of the the concepts that we practice, so that each of the concepts we are seeing in this video. Okay, so this is all about dictionaries. Now what about null? Okay, let's say that I don't have anything to be mentioned as a value, so it is a null value. So the null values are indicated with the tilde or null literal without any quotes. You should not quote this null, otherwise it will be taken as a string. So you have to put null as the value, or you can use tilde. So once you run this file using Python, or if any YAML parsers are reading this file, they will be read as none. capital None. So this is related to Python. So it could be for some other language, it could be NIL. Okay, so once you pass it right, then only you can see the value. For Python, it will take as none. For some other language, it will take it as nil. So it is for the parsers to decide what should be the outcome. Okay, so in order to do this again, what I'm doing is, so uh, I'm putting name. Okay, I'll just use tilde symbol. Age I'll put it as 26. Address what I'll put it as null. Okay, remember here that I'm not putting inside a quotes. If you put inside the quotes, it will become a string. So null indicates a null value. Okay, if I have to read this using Python and see the output. Now see here, this tilde will be evaluated as none. This null also will be evaluated as none. Okay, so this is how you do it for the null. So null indicates these are null values or no values. Okay. Now coming to the list. So list we have already seen what is a list. Okay. So list are nothing but it's an array. So list in YAML supports both scalar values like integers, floats, or exponential values, or complex types like dictionaries and mappings. Okay. So if I have to uh, show you the example of a list. Okay, I'll go to the all data types YAML. Then I have many examples for the list. So I'll simply take this complete part. Okay, and then I'll copy into test.yaml. Okay, so that is easier for me to explain. So now list, if you see the second part, this is a list. Okay, so list 2, it's the key and values are 4, 5, 6. So how do I indicate these are 4, 5, 6 are list elements? So it is through hyphen value. So do I have to put two spaces here? So it is absolutely not needed. So if you are putting spaces, so that will be considered. If you are not putting, it is still fine, but it is usually best practice to give two spaces to indicate. So these are the values that belongs to this key. Okay, so if you are not putting spaces, it might confuse, but it is still fine. Okay, but I can also indicate list inline. So these are called inline lists. These are called block level indications. These are called inline indications. Okay, so you can also give like this inside the square brackets. I can mention the values, or else I can mention them in the individual lines using hyphen. Okay, here I am using scalars. That means that integers and floats. Okay, I can also use the combinations of integers, strings, etc. That is also completely fine. So now what happens is, say here, this list as the key, and these are the values, right? Now I can also have list, I mean some key, and values I can have. See here, this is the first list element. Okay, but what is the first list element? Again, this is a dictionary. So this is the second list element, but what is the value? It is a key value pair. And the next one, again, it is a key value pair. So it doesn't mean that list should have the values only as a list. I can also have list of dictionaries as well. Okay, so what is the use case? Okay, let's say that you have a pod. Okay, inside the Kubernetes, Kubernetes, we have multi port containers. Okay, a container can have multiple ports. So how do you mention multiple ports of a container? It is through list. Okay, so you list all the ports that a container listens on. So that is a use case. Even in the Kubernetes service files, see here, this part is, it is a block of a block of YAML taken from the Kubernetes services. Okay, so here, see here, spec, service spec, type as the node port. Okay, ports. Now if you see here, ports as the key, the values are list. Okay, that means that this is a port 80, it is listening, I mean, and again port 443, it is again one more port it is listening on. Okay, now if I remove this, right? Okay, if I remove this, that means that this is a list. Okay, if I put them back, okay, this complete part is a list. This complete part is a list. Okay, but if I put hyphen, okay, one second. If I put hyphen here, this is a list element, this is a list element, this is a list element, but this complete part is a list element. Okay, so if I want this as a list element, so simply put hyphen. Okay, but that is not my requirement, right? Okay, so here this complete part is a list element because hyphen is starting here, but next hyphen is starting here. That means that this complete part becomes a list element. But this, what is this again? It is a dictionary because it has a key value, it has a key value. So this complete part is a, again a dictionary. Okay, so now we understood, right? The hyphen indicates it is a list element. So this complete part is a list element. Here this is a list element, this is a list element, this is a list element. Now if I have to read this using Python, okay, so it will be very easy to understand. Now the first one is list 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 as an output. Now list 2, 4, 5, 6. It is mentioned like in this format. So it is 4, 5, 6. Okay, so do you have to give spaces here? It, it is not mandatory, but if you give, so that will be easier to read. Now list 3, it is 1, 2, 3 strings. So this is given 1, 2, 3 strings inside the quotes, sorry, inside the square brackets. Now here spec, spec is the key and the complete part is a value. That means spec is the key, the complete part is the value. Okay, till the next part. Now inside this complete value, type is the key, value is the node port. So type is the key, value as the node port. Now ports as the key, and it values is a list of three elements. So here ports is the key, value is the list of three elements. So this is the list. So the starting of square bracket and ending of square bracket indicates it is a list. So inside the list again it is a dictionary. Key value, key value. So that's why if you see here port and name, it's a key value, key value, and then it complete thing is enclosed here in the braces. Okay, so this completes this part. Again next one, this. Okay, third one, I don't have port information, so that's why it is a null value, so it is evaluated as null. Okay, so this is how you read lists in, okay, Python. So now we were talking about block versus flow style. So there are two forms of indicating lists or any data type in YAML. So first one is the block style. So block style uses spaces for structuring the document. Let's say here. So here color as the key, value is a list. Okay, so I can list the elements like this inside the square brackets. Like I can go red, yellow, blue, but I can also mention it like this with the spaces at the front. Okay, so block style. So this is a block. So block style uses spaces for structuring the document. It is much easier to read but less compact because this will occupy a lot of space. So it is easier to read but it will take a lot of space and less compact. In case of flow style, so these are called inline way of structuring the document. That means that if color is a list, so I can have the elements of the list mentioned on the same line. Okay, it is it takes less space, but it is somewhat less easy to read. Okay, because giving it on a separate line makes it easier to read. Giving it on a single line makes it a little bit of difficult to read. So here for lists we are giving it as square brackets. The same thing if it is an dictionary, data is the key and this complete thing becomes a value. Again this inside this value, again this is a dictionary, right? Because it has a key value, key value. Okay, so this is again a block level way of doing. But what is the other way, flow level way? So since this is data is the key, value is a dictionary. Okay, I can have braces to indicate a dictionary. Okay, now individually there are key values. So name as the key, value as the this one, age as the key, value as this. So for list elements we use square brackets. This we already know. For the dictionaries we use braces. Okay, so this is a block way of doing it, and this is the flow way of doing it, flow style. Okay. Now the next thing is set. So set in YAML is almost similar to Python data type or set data type. Okay, so how do we mention sets in YAML is? So instead of hyphen for list, we should have question mark to indicate a set element, and also the set elements after the name of the set element. We have to use this convention, that is double exclamation marks followed by the set as the key. Okay, so one of the important features of the set is it will not allow duplicate elements. Let's say if this is in your YAML file, so I have there are two duplicate values, two, and again there are duplicate names Vikram. So once your Python program will parse this data, so these duplicate elements will be removed. So only one value will be retained and the other duplicate value will be uh, removed. So if I have to show it programmatically, so what I can do is I can just I can have a name as Vikram. Okay, so what I can do is and then so inside the certifications key, what I'll do is so I'll have a list, right? Okay, list of CK, and then I have CKAD. So and then I have DSA. Okay, sorry. So this certifications, what I want to do is I wanted to mention it as a set. So exclamation, double exclamation, and set. So instead of the hyphen, I have question mark. Okay, so question mark indicates the set element. So what I did is so I mentioned CK twice. Okay, so now what I'll do is I gave this as an input to my Python file. So now if you see the Python file, okay, if I just show you the output. So now if you see here, so I mentioned CK twice, but it is not there in the once my Python program reads that YAML file. So it completely ignored the double value CK. So only one CK element is there. Okay. So here set the double braces indicates set. Okay, so you have to see that there is a difference between dictionary versus set, right? So both dictionary and set are indicated in the flower braces, but the thing is the dictionaries will have key value pairs, the name, let's say name colon Vikram, again comma age. Okay, so some age. But here it will have only values, let's say CK. Okay, CKAD. So this will have only values. So there is no concept of keys over here. So although both will have the same flower bases to enclose the data, the dictionary will have key values, but the set will have only the values. So that is the indication. Okay, don't think that this is enclosed in braces. This becomes a dictionary since there are no key value format. So this is a set. Okay. Now come going back to the next data type, it is anchors and extensions. So why we use anchors and extensions? Okay, so these anchors and extensions we use it in many places, like in Docker Compose files, in Ansible also we use. So what is the use of anchors and extensions is, yeah, YAML anchors are a feature which let you identify an item and then reference it elsewhere in your file. Let's say I have a dictionary, okay, in the YAML file. I wanted to refer this dictionary multiple areas. Let's say, I have a dictionary that I wanted to put it in 5 places in the same YAML file. So instead of copying and pasting the same, dictionary multiple areas, what I can do is I can use anchors feature where I'll mark a particular key value or a particular information in the YAML file with the ampersand sign, okay, with a name, okay, and then I can refer that name using star. Okay, it is simply like marking an anchor. See, if you see here restart colon always. Okay, so if I just remove this end restart policy value, it is simply restart colon always. So I wanted to use this key value restart as a key, always as a value, multiple areas. So what I'm doing is for this restart colon, I'm giving it a name restart policy, and then I'm anchoring it with ampersand. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll use this restart colon always key value somewhere by just giving that star and then name. That means that, so this always value is there, right? I'm marking this value. Okay, so anchors are always for the values, guys. Okay, so this always value I wanted to refer it many places. Okay, that's why I'm giving it an alias name called restart policy, and then I'm creating an anchor using ampersand. Then I'll use this always value here at this position by referring to this alias name and then using star. And the other scenario, I have an environment. Okay, so just don't consider about this for time being. I have an environment as the key, value is a dictionary. So I wanted to have this dictionary used multiple areas. That means that app is equal to web service, environment is equal to production. Both these key values I wanted to use multiple area. That's why for this environment, okay, for this complete environment, I'm giving envars as the name and I'm using an anchor. Okay, then I wanted to refer this complete thing somewhere using that alias name followed by the star. Okay, so let's go back to the example and see how do we use anchors. Okay, so this we are taking the real life scenario where I have okay, one second. Yeah. So I have a Docker Compose file. Okay. So this Docker Compose file we already know. So Docker Compose is for bring up a complete application stack. Like we have multiple containers to be run as a part of your application in Docker. Then I, instead of running Docker run command multiple times, so I can mention all those containers information in the Docker Compose file, and simply I can use Docker Compose up to bring the complete application stack. So those containers, or those containers are known as services. So here I have two services, WordPress as a service and MySQL as a service. Then I have the restart policy as always. Okay, for this WordPress container, I wanted to use the same restart as always. Here, the always as the value for multiple such services. So what I'll do is this always value, I'm creating an alias name and I'm using ampersand to mark the anchor. Okay, similarly, this app, web service and environment protection, this value, so these belong to environment key. So this complete thing is an dictionary. So for time being, just ignore this anchors. So environment as the key, and app, web service and env protection as the values. So this complete value I wanted to refer it in multiple places, that's why. So for this complete dictionary object, I am giving nvars as the name and ampersand as the anchor. So now in the another service, I can have the same restart policy as always. Instead of hard coding it here, like here, I'm just using this restart policy as the alias name and using star. Star is the variable replacement. Okay. So why I've done this? Let's say this um, always I wanted to change it on failure. Okay, so now I wanted to have this on failure as the restart policy to be reflected everywhere for all the services. So if I don't use anchors, what I have to do is the same on restart failure I have to copy it here. Okay, if there are hundreds of services mentioned as a part of Docker Compose, so I either have to search and replace or I have to manually replace. So in order to avoid that, what I can do, I can use anchors. Okay. Similarly, this environment value, I wanted to have it for the MySQL service. So same, I've created an anchor and then I've used uh, the anchor here. So now what I'll do is I'll simply use Python program again to render it. So now if you see here the output, uh, for the services, okay, WordPress restart as always. Okay, so if you see here, these anchors and all are ignored, so these are not printed. So the restart as always for WordPress service, that is obvious. And then environment, we have app and env. So for the environment, I have the app and env. But if you go to the MySQL, here image is this one. Okay, and restart, I have not mentioned anything here. It is directly taken from here, this value. So that's why here for the MySQL restart as always, it is taking from the anchor. And environment here, if you see here, I have not mentioned anything. It is taking from the WordPress service anchor. Okay, this app and env. So this app and env are mentioned as the environment. Okay, so this is all about using anchors. So to have the variables Okay, so it is reusing different values given in the YAML. Okay, but here if you see here, I'm using environment as env was. So whatever present here, I'm just copying it here. But after copying, can I also add my extra environment variables or extra information? Okay, because it will only copy. Okay, but what if I wanted to copy the some part from the other available anchor, but also I wanted to add my own set of values. So this is about extensions. So what happens is inside extensions, it will extend the anchor values. That means that apart from copying the already existing anchor values, we can also add some additional bit of information. Let's say I wanted to have restart policy. Sorry. So here I have app web service environment protection. Here I wanted to have one more key value known as type colon database. Okay, I wanted to have this. So what how I can do is I can still use this one, but here I'll use like this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just copy paste from here. Okay, so it is already given in the one second, guys. It is also given in the all data type file, so you don't have to down note down now. Okay, so what happens here is environment. What I'm doing is here this is the extension operator. Okay, using two less than symbols. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm taking the environment variables from the anchor, and I also am adding few more environment variables here. Okay, so now if you see here, so this extra tag here will be rendered. Okay, if I have run the same, if I take the input of that YAML file here, if you see the environment for the WordPress is only app and env, but for the MySQL it is app, env, and also the type called database. Okay, which is extended. Okay, if you don't extend it, right? Okay, simply if I'm doing like this, I'm not adding anything. If you run it, okay, so what happens? It is nothing. It is same as the previous example. Okay, it is anchor. Okay, even though we have used an extension operator, but we are not extending any value. Okay, so this is about anchors and extensions. Okay, and the other thing is the placeholders. So what happens is, what we have been doing is we have been hard coding everything in the YAML files. Let's say if you wanted to hard code the name, we are doing it. We are hard coding the environment variables. We are hard coding the age, everything. But what is my requirement is I wanted to have a placeholder or a variable that is to be dynamically replaced. But YAML by default doesn't support it, so it supports placeholders. Okay, so YAML placeholders are used for referencing variables inside the YAML files. So okay, so if you see the so one of the requirement, one of the example or one of the technology which uses these placeholders is Helm charts. Okay, so we will not talk more about the Helm charts. Okay, in this lecture series, but charts use something known as templating YAMLs. So that means that the YAMLs doesn't have hard-coded values, so those will have placeholders where Helm will dynamically replace the values. Let's say this is the Kubernetes deployment file. Okay, so if you already know Kubernetes, we know that deployment will deploy a certain number of containers or the pods in the cluster. Let's say inside the replica section, I wanted to have 10 replicas or 20 replicas, but I don't want to hard code the number of replicas I need. I wanted to dynamically read it from another YAML file. Okay, so that's why we have something known as placeholders. So the placeholders will look like this. So there are two braces at the beginning and two braces at the end, and in between we'll mention the placeholder name. So the placeholder name can be replica, anything. Okay, so from where these values will be replaced is these values will be replaced from some other file. Okay, in Helm chart these are replaced from values.yaml file. Okay, so these values.yaml file will have a dictionary. okay, or it's an YAML file. So what I mentioned here is I mentioned some hard-coded values here. Okay, so I have image nginx tag as latest, pull policy, replicas, container pod. So let's say I wanted to deploy it in the dev environment. Okay, so inside the dev environment, I wanted to have only one replica. Then what I'll do is I'll change the replica as one, and then I'll use this deployment file to deploy. Then what happens is this deployment file has replicas value that is being read from this values.yaml file. Okay, so this values.yaml file has only one as the value, then immediately it will deploy only one replica. Let's say I wanted to deploy the same application in the production environment, but this time I want 12 replicas or 3 replicas, let's say. So now I'll change this values.yaml file to 3, then I'll use the same deployment file to deploy, but this time the replicas will that are going to deploy are 3 because inside values.yaml file, so I have mentioned as 3. So if you see here, the same deployment file I'm reusing for various environments. Okay, so without making any changes to the deployment file, but the values.yaml file I can configure for the various environments. Okay, so this is known as this way of mentioning the placeholders, and also I can have different images and the different tags, pull policy, container ports. So all these are placeholders. So these are known as templating. So this templating of YAML files are is done in Helm. Okay, Helm uses this templating. Okay. S- Okay, so now YAML placeholders are used for referencing variables, avoids hard-coded values. So this is the only advantage that we get. Okay, and Helm uses these placeholders for templating YAML files. Okay, the why Helm is so popular is we have templates. Okay, so we don't have to hard code. We can change the values in some other files and refer these files in some other files. Okay, we can refer them in some other files. Okay, so the Helm uses Go templating engine. Okay, so this templating engine is written in Go language. So YAML reads these templates, all the placeholders and all, and the Go templating engine will replace the values which are present in values.yaml. Okay, and then the final YAML will be rendered. Okay, so we'll see how this is going to work. So I have here in the resources section. Okay, a Helm template file. So inside the Helm templates, so knowing the structure is of is not of concern for this tutorial. So we have the templates directory where the template values, templatized YAMLs will be stored, and outside this chart we have chart.yaml and values.yaml. If you look at the values.yaml file, these are hard-coded values. If you go to the templates and see deployment YAML, okay, this is nothing but a deployment file, but values are not hard coded. Okay, so let me open this values.yaml in the another section. Okay, now if you see here, instead of hard coding the replicas as 2 or 3 or something, what I did is, okay, I'm reading it from the, okay, I'll just remove the extra part. Okay, I'm reading it from the values.yaml file. So how do you refer them is there is a specific way of referring them. So it is using dot values. That means that I'm saying the first dot indicates go to the root of the directory and find a file known as values, and then fetch a value replicas from that file. Okay, so it is dot values. It will go to the values.yaml file at the root of the directory, and then it will check for the replicas key and fetch its value. So here replicas key it is mentioned as 2. So if I mention it as 9, so while rendering the chart, the Helm chart, so it will fetch this value. And also here the container image, what I'm doing is I'm reading the image dot name. So inside image there is a separate key known as image. Okay, now again for the tag also I'm mentioning image dot tag. So from the values go to image tag and then go to the actual tag. So image key and the tag key, so it is latest. So this complete part will become nginx. Okay, there is a colon here and then tag which is latest. Okay, so now here ports, container port, what I am asking is to fetch the container port from the values.yaml file and then go to ports key and then fetch the container key, port key. So the ports as the key and again container port as the key, and its value is 80, so this will be replaced. So 80 will be replaced here. So dot values dot image dot name, what is it is? It is the nginx from the values dot YAML, and again this complete part is the tag which is latest, which is here, and then the replicas are 9. Okay, so but instead of hard coding, what I did is I have just gave it these values. Okay, so now how do we render this chart? Okay, so we have been saying that these are Helm the templating YAMLs. Okay, so can I render them? So before installing this chart, can I see the actual variables that will be replaced? Yes, absolutely, it is possible. What I can do is here, 1 second, guys. If I do ls, okay, I'll just select the bash profile. Okay, so if I do ls, so here it is a Helm chart. So what I can do is I can just do Helm template, and the name of the template, it is helm underscore template. That is just folder name. So I could also give it a different name, but I'm giving it a name as helm underscore template. Okay, so don't mention, don't get confused with helm space template. So helm template, it is the command, and helm template, it is the folder name. Okay, so now if I just enter here, so all the template files will be rendered. Now this placeholders, right, this values dot replicas, if you see here, it is 9 because I actually have 9 here, it is rendered. So if I just put it as 5, okay, and then save that file, then again do the rendering again. So now here replicas as 5, so you can see the final YAML file after rendering, so using the Helm template. Okay, so if there are any other templating engines, so they'll have their own set of the commands to render the charts. So now coming to the other uh, you know the part in the YAML series, it is the multiple files. So I can have multiple files defined in the same YAML document. Okay, by separating those files with the three hyphens over here. So this part becomes one more YAML document, and this part will become one more YAML document. So the YAML parsers will can identify or recognize these two as the different YAML documents with the help of three hyphens. So it is possible to have different YAML documents, I can club pod YAML file, I can have service YAML file, I can have config map YAML all defined in a single file, or else I can have them in a different YAML file. So there are two possibilities. Okay. So now coming to the K8s examples that we generally come across in YAML is, so let's say we can use, since all the Kubernetes manifest files or the object files are written in YAML. So let's see one such example for multipod uh, YAML example. So here API version is the key, and the v1 as the value, kind as the key, metadata as the key, and the value is a key value pair. Okay, so for metadata as the key, this becomes a value. But if you look into this value, again it is a key value pair. Now this spec as the key, restart policy is never as the key value pair, and then inside the values, so this is a list. Okay, so these are nothing but list of volumes. So the volumes can have we can have multiple volumes, right, in the Kubernetes. So that's why we have volumes as the list, so I can have multiple volumes defined. Even in the containers, so a pod can have multiple containers. So there is a multi-container pattern inside Kubernetes. So I can have multiple containers in a pod, but having single container per pod is the ideal use case. Okay, but I can also have different multiple container patterns like ambassador patterns, sidecar patterns, init container patterns, or adapter container patterns, where we'll have multiple containers per pod. So that's the reason why the containers are indicated with the values are indicated with hyphen. That means that it is a list. So I can have list of containers or list of volumes. Okay, and then inside each list, again this is a dictionary, right? Okay, so the name, image, volume mounts. Now a container can have multiple volume mounts, so that's why volume mounts is again a list. Now next container name, image, volume mounts, it can have multiple volume mounts for that container. Okay, so even in the config map that we have seen earlier, so this is a multi-line string. Okay, so even the config maps are also can be mounted as volumes inside a Kubernetes pod. So that's why so the configurations can also mounted inside the pod as a volume. Okay, so these are the references that I have used, for this lecture. So I've used yaml.org official documentation. So I've taken some example from Kubernetes and the Ansible documentation. If you like this video, please join our Facebook community and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So these are the links and QR codes to our Facebook group and YouTube channel. And thank you guys. Thank you for attending the session, and thank you for watching this video. So if you have any queries, you can just reach me out on Facebook on the link given. Thank you.